Steve, that game last night was a nightmare. I think 22 accepted penalties. I think around 28 called penalties. The referees were on camera more than the quarterbacks, more than the coaches, more than the running backs. It was a referee show. Maybe it was sloppy play. I do think it was sloppy play. A lot of the penalties seem legitimate. But the dang gone roughing the passer call on Aaron Rodgers, or against the guy that tackled Aaron Rodgers, was a joke. Extended the drive, allowed the Jets to get a touchdown. They ended up making a makeup call later in the game and called a roughing the passer on Josh Allen. It was a phantom call. It was a clear makeup. That game was hard to watch. It was so bad that Aaron Rodgers lose in a loss. He called out the referees, and it wasn't some kind of finger pointing trying to say, hey, they cost us the game. He just acknowledged, like, that game was a tragedy for people to watch and to participate in. Let's play Aaron Rodgers calling out the officiating.
Just talk a little bit about the penalties tonight.
Yeah, it seemed a little ridiculous. Some of them seemed really bad, including the roughing the passer on me. That's not roughing the passer. Might as well play sarcastic ball if we're going to call those things. And I thought the one on Kinlaw was not roughing the passer either. So.
Aaron, we got 1 for 4 in the red zone. It was a game by 3 points. What was breaking down the red zone?
Nothing. We had chances. We had a walk-in touchdown with Braylon. And we had a phantom holding call.
Steve or Butter, do you get the sarcastic ball? Do y'all get that reference? I think it's to the TV show South Park, but it flew over my head. I think it's an inside joke, or you got to watch South Park. Both of you looked as perplexed as I do. Anyway, Steve, that game, tragedy, hard to watch last night. I was really frustrated.
In the immortal words of Marv Levy, those over-officious jerks. Now, I get it. You want to protect the quarterbacks. They're all players. Player safety is such a big thing. Never mind that guys will be playing 3 games in 14 days later on during the season and all that other stuff, and they added a game. But the days of Turkey Jones spiking Terry Bradshaw into the ground, I get it. Those are over. And where I remember the body weight thing really beginning the discussion, and we haven't discussed this guy in a while, so it's the obligatory mention, Rich Gannon getting belly bumped into the ground by Goose. Remember during the 2000 playoffs when the Ravens made that great run? And it actually knocked him out of the game. And that's the first time I remember people saying, you shouldn't be able to do that. But Jason, I want to say this again. The only way to legislate the violence and the physicality out of football is much like boxing. It's to ban the sport. You're taking away the very essence of the game. And that penalty on Epinesa, you could hear the disgust in Troy Aikman, who probably doesn't even remember the last half of his career because of the way the game used to be. But it's the sheer number of penalties, Jason, that made that a very, very hard watch. I don't know what to say other than the fact we can go out there and we can judge the calls, we can critique the calls, but there are certain things about football that I think we enjoy. And I want to make this point again. I think I said this last week. Everybody that plays football, no one is forcing them to do that. They understand the physical risks that they are taking by participating in this sport.
Butter, did you watch last night?
Yeah.
Hard?
I feel like the officiating in the NFL is like the southern border of the United States. They just don't want to fix it for some reason. And part of my perception of it is for this exact reason. The calls that they make, sometimes the officiating gets in the way of the game, but we end up talking about it to this extent. After the game, it keeps the conversation going about the game. I honestly think the NFL is like the rich parents that just spoil their kids all year long. The NFL just keeps giving. This trade with Devontae, the game, we're in week 6 and we have these incredible, fun talking points about the NFL. I think the officiating plays into that allure of why this game is so big and why it makes so much money.
But I get what you're saying, and it's actually a serious point, but for people like me that played the game and love the game, they've turned it into a reality show. It's The View.
It's entertainment.
Yeah, I got it, but it's like hey, you got something to talk about on The View. Whoopi and Joy, you guys have at it over this, and as long as it's contributing to the conversation, I guess everybody's all good. I'm just not sure. I think sports are based on fanaticism, and they're turning off the fanatic. I'm a fanatic. I'm a football fanatic, and they're turning me off. When that call happened on Rodgers, I shut off my TV for a moment. I was like, I don't know if I can do this. Fortunately or unfortunately, I had money on the Bills, so I turned the game back on. But I do think it's when your own players are questioning the officiating and what's going on out here. I think at some point, Steve, it's gonna damage the credibility of the sport.
Yeah, and by the way, if we are The View, I don't know who I'd rather be less, Sonny Holston or Whoopi. But anyway, to your point, and you just admitted it, Jason, if it wasn't for the gambling or fantasy league aspect of the National Football League and other sports, I don't know what is actually keeping a lot of these people from watching. I mean, think about it. I don't gamble. I really don't. And so, but if you're a guy that has Breece Hall over under 80 yards, yeah, you're probably looking at that. It's the Super Bowl. But let's say you're just a regular fan that enjoys good athletic competition. You like the National Football League. It's been a part of your life for 35, 40 years, right? It's like being a movie fan. If you grew up watching the great movies, let's say you grew up watching the original Star Wars, the real ones, okay? And now you're stuck watching these woke Star Wars from Disney, you're going to be like, oh, God, how stretched out is my loyalty? What is the limit here, right? Because in my view, if you grew up in our era, Jason, and you watched the late 70s all the way to the 2000s, and you grew up on NFL films with the voice of God, John Facenda, when Monday Night Football truly was the biggest television grabber in all of sports and television, you're spoiled. I have a theory. Maybe if you're just a younger fan, maybe this is what you're used to and you're okay with it.
I do think the younger fans are, because I think the football has always been difficult for a certain segment of the population to understand. Strategy is too much. It's too intricate. Most people don't. It's not like basketball. Everybody in America, I bet 94% of America has picked up a basketball at some point, men and women. A woman will touch a basketball in gym class, in third, fourth grade, but a football, no. They don't, handful of women will play flag football in high school or whatever, but football they just don't understand. And maybe the NFL and maybe TV has figured out that the real fandom is the conversation around the game. Everybody can relate to argument. Well, I got Breece Hall and he needed 75 yards and they took him out here and I don't understand why the coach did it. Everybody can talk about that. Oh, they didn't get a stat that I wanted. Point spread, same thing. They didn't win by enough points. And so it's the games are about the conversation around the game. And trust me, I kind of reluctantly acknowledge, but I don't watch near as much. And that's despite me still occasionally putting money on the games. I don't watch nearly as much as I used to because the refs are going to dominate the game. They need pregame introductions. They need trading cards. They need to be guests on shows. They are the mega stars of this game. And Butter, you wanted to hop back in?
Yeah, I'm just saying they made $2 more billion than they did last year. There is no other form of entertainment that translates as well on TV as the NFL. You were making the point about the WNBA and this takeover that they're heading towards. Nothing translates like the NFL on TV. And the refs and this whole thing, I know when you talk about the sanctity of the game and why you watch it, but as a brand, as a company, I mean, they're moving north on their income each year.
Yep. And so, Steve, here's something. I don't know if it crossed your mind, but it did cross mine. And people out there can call me a weirdo, get in the chats and, yell at Shamika and say, oh, Whitlock's obsessed, he's a weirdo, no one thinks like that. But I guarantee you, I'm not the only one who watched that game. And again, the refs called 22 penalties. They called 3 or 4 others where they huddled up. The refs were on TV a lot. And they were on TV so much that I was like, dang, is this an all-black officiating crew? Or 5 or 6 of these guys? And the whole DEI argument went through my head. Like, hey, do they got the best officials out here? Or is this some kind of statement the NFL's trying to make? And that's the other thing that aided me throughout the game. And I'm a black dude. So I could imagine what some white guys, if they were allowed to be honest, watching that game and watching 4 or 5 black guys huddle up after every one of these flags was thrown and talk about it, you start wondering, like, because of DEI, because, the NFL has all bought in. Are they there because of merit, or are they there because they're trying to make a statement and they're easy to control? It ran across my mind last night, and I'm sure it ran across other fans' minds. Steve, did it cross your mind?
Jason, I want to give you credit. I thought you were going to say that you were looking for the greatest or a game, Indiana Fever, to rewatch Caitlin Clark highlight. You kind of took me in a different direction. Honestly, I did notice that the referee was black. I didn't really think about the line judge, the umpire, the back judge. But yeah, I mean, look, there have been black officials like Jerome Boger, Mike Carey.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's nothing really new.
Mike Carey got on national. Hold for 1 second. Mike Carey got on national TV on CBS Sports, and it made me go, holy cow. This guy was one of the lead refs in national football. Did he earn it? I mean, the guy couldn't. It was hard for him to complete a complete sentence, complete thought. Just keeping it real.
Mike was a good official. Okay, I get it.
It seemed to me until he went into broadcasting, and I was like, holy moly. They had to dump him so quick, he couldn't explain anything. Don't miss a second of Fearless. Hit that like button and subscribe to keep up with our latest content.